Hey guys, I am pretty much a video game virgin. I never really got to play many games as a kid growing up. But now that I'm a responsible adult with a job, I thought I would live out the childhood that I never really got to have. So come join me for a fresh perspective on some old classics as I explore some retro games with the same childlike wonder that you once had, way back when. I'm gonna start off with Super Mario 64. Which I got a boxed copy of. Now, to provide a bit of context, the N64 never came out where I was from. So I spent my whole life just not knowing this thing even existed, which to some of you must have just been crazy. So let's check it out. Prepare for battle with more princesses in another castle. The first thing really that just really blew my mind was manuals. So we don't really have manuals. It's not a common thing where I'm from. Being able to have something tangible to actually flip through and read a little backstory with was amazing. So I eventually booted up the game, and there were two main things I noticed.
It's me, Mario! Hello!
The first thing was just how colorful everything was. So there was so much red, so much blue, so much green, so much sky going on, and so much color and so much sense of freedom, really. So I spent the first few minutes of the game just running around everywhere. But eventually I got to the door, and I pressed the button to open the door. And there's an animation for turning the doorknob and opening the door, and the door shuts behind you, which I thought was just cool for the time. I imagine that would have been a really big deal. I get to the first level, and the music starts hitting you.
Let's go!
There's some footage of me dancing strangely or awkwardly to it, which I'll put in one of these windows here. You know what? Might as well take this one. Ah, shit! No! Oh shit! Alright, here we go. Come on. Ah! Come on. What the fuck?! Ah, yes! Fuck! Finally! Okay. Long live the king! Just throws him off the cliff. I do that a couple of times, and the guy just blows up and gives me a star, and the star spins around, and Mario's going, here we go! So I finally make my way through to the next level, and by this point, I'm starting to get pretty good at the game. No! Okay. No! Eventually, I get myself to Jolly Roger Bay, and so far, this has really been one of my favorite levels in terms of the music. I don't quite know how to describe it, but it felt like there was a parallel universe where the N64 came out, and I grew up with it, and that half of me in this other universe is subliminally communicating with my current self a sense of nostalgia. It felt very enchanting and nostalgic at the same time, but I couldn't really figure out why. Now, I do have a bit of a phobia of deep water, and I also have a bit of a phobia of objects that are disproportionately larger than they need to be. So swimming around and chasing that star and that eel was a frickin' nightmare. It gave you a true sense of size and scale, really. I imagine with 2D sprites, you don't really get a feel for, how big things could be. And it wasn't until I started chasing after a giant underwater eel that I truly felt small for once in a video game. And I can only imagine back in the day, when we were very young, that must have been what it felt like. So that's part 1 of my review of Super Mario 64. Stay tuned for part 2. Fuck! Oh shit! Why is this happening to me?